How many God-given dreams have you and I left unrealized because fear placed us in a prison that we could not escape from? How many God accomplishments with your name written on them, with my name written on them, have gone unaccomplished because fear paralyzed us? You and I if you continue to live in fear, your family, your friends, and the world will miss your unique contribution.
You can either live your dreams or live your fears. And I think the majority of people actually are not living their dreams, but are living their fears. So I want to ask you a question. What are your fears? What are you afraid of? What are you scared of? Because we all have fears, don't we? We all have something that's blocking us, that's holding us back. And as we begin to look at life, what we realize is that the reason that most people are not living out their true potential, are not doing all of the things that they would really like to do, is because of fear. Some people call fear false evidence or expectations appearing real. It's a difference between having a fear and the fear having you. So what do? One, acknowledge it, and knowing that it's okay. Don't condemn yourself for being afraid. It's perfectly fine to have some fears. You acknowledge your fears, you embrace those fears, and then you move on. You act on whatever it is that you fear. Because once you embrace it, see, what you resist will persist. What you resist will persist. So one of the most important things is to begin to embrace your fear.
Now let me ask you, what are you afraid of? What scares you? A better question would be, how do you respond to fear? How you respond to your fear is what determines how much power it will have over you. What are you afraid of? How has fear hindered you from living the life you want to live? How has fear stopped you from accomplishing your goals?
Fear and faith have something in common. They both ask us to believe something is going to happen that we cannot see. Fear says that pain in your side is the same thing your grandmother died from. It's going to be the end of you. Faith says that pain is not permanent, it's only temporary. Fear says business is slow, you're going to go under. Faith says God is supplying all of my needs. Fear says you've been through so much, you're never going to really be happy again. Faith says my best days are still out in front of me. Here's the key. Whatever you meditate on is what's going to take root. If you dwell on that fear all day, you let it play again and again in your mind, then you give it a right to become a reality. When you go around worried, expecting the worst, it's like you're inviting that into your life. Well, I'm afraid I'm going to get the flu. You just invited the flu. I'm afraid I might get laid off. You just invited a layoff. No, turn it around. Quit inviting defeat, sickness, bad breaks, and start inviting victory into your life. Use your faith in the right direction.
Do not be afraid. It is said in different ways, different variations, but it's basically the same thing. Fear not. Do not be afraid. Be fearless. Fear ye not. If the enemy is working that hard to keep me away from that thing, there must be something in it that he does not want me to have. And if the enemy has placed a spirit of fear on something in your life, it must mean that he is trying his best to keep you away from something. And if he's trying to keep you away from it, that must mean there's something in it that he does not want you to have. Listen, my friend, if the spirit of fear is attached to something in your life, would you know that that is likely the enemy's way to keep you from passing through it? Because he knows if you pass through it, on the other side of it is the destiny to which God has called you. And so one of the main ways that he will keep you and I from achieving what it is and doing what it is that God has called us to do and who he's called us to be is that he will attach a spirit of fear to the very thing that he knows is the channel way to your destiny. He wants you and I to be so paralyzed, so crippled, so disarmed, so disinterested from the very thing that he knows is exactly what God wants to take you through, so that he can bring you to a new place in him. Do not be afraid.
He says, do not be afraid because I'm with you. He says, do not be afraid because I'm for you. He says, do not be afraid because I love you. Do not be afraid because I am your God. Fear is a matter of perspective. How you view something, either by faith or by fear, will determine whether or not you run toward it or you run away from it. Fear is a response to a set of possibilities. The devil would love for you to live by fear, because when you're afraid, you run away. Don't let anything cause you not to trust God. Don't let anything cause you not to trust God. Don't take anyone's opinion more highly than what God says about you, what he says to you in his word. He didn't say that things won't be scary. He just said, don't be afraid. Focusing on your fear instead of having faith in the one who holds your tomorrow is foolish. Focusing on your fear instead of having faith in the one who holds your tomorrow, it is foolish. Don't do it. Don't do it. You've got to get over what you're afraid of in order to walk in the best of what God has for you. You have got to get over what you are afraid of in order to walk in and experience the best of what God has for you.
How many times have we killed our dreams with our thoughts? How many times have we stopped God's blessings, favor, healing, restoration, because we're dwelling on the fear? Fear can create a barrier. Wrong thinking can keep you from God's best. If you're going to live in victory, you've got to be disciplined in your thought life. What you dwell on is what you're inviting in. That's what you allow to become a reality. Fear blows things out of proportion. Fear makes problems much bigger than they really are. Maybe God sent you today for a perspective change. Maybe what you're fearing is never even going to happen. Maybe that obstacle that looks permanent is really only temporary. You feel trapped. Everything tells you you'll never get out. You'll never get ahead. You'll never get well. You'll never get married. No, God is saying, don't worry. I've got you in the palm of my hand. No weapon formed against you is ever going to prosper. It may feel dark and lonely, like it's not going to work out, but God is saying, if you will stay in faith, I will deliver you. I will protect you. I will heal you. I will vindicate you. I will restore you. I will not only bring you out, I'll bring you out better off than you were before. Now you got to do your part. Don't panic. Don't fear the worst. Don't imagine every negative thing that could happen. Now be strong and of good courage. The Lord your God is with you. Friends, throughout life, fear will come knocking at the door. Tell you the worst case scenario, you're not going to make it out. You're not going to stay healthy. Your business is going to go down. No, here's the key. When fear knocks, let faith answer the door. Don't give those thoughts of fear the time of day. Don't let them intimidate you. Answer back with faith. Lord, you said the number of my days you would fulfill. Here's the key. Don't come into agreement with the fear. If you don't agree, the only way it can come to pass is if God gives it the permission. And if God does, you can rest assured it's not going to work against you, it's going to work for you. Now pay attention to what you're coming into agreement with. Your mind is the bullseye of the enemy's target. If he can control your thoughts, he can control your whole life. If you don't guard your mind, it will default back to these thoughts of fear, worry, anxiety, negativity. God, you said what's meant for my harm, you turn around and use to my advantage. When fear knocks, let faith answer the door.